Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison. I'm recording from my lovely home in Los Angeles, California on Friday, February 3rd, 2023. How is everybody? How is 2023 treating everybody? Mine has been busy. Work has been busy. Work will be busy. I'm ramping up into a busy time of work probably for the next 6 months or so, and then it will ramp down. Coming to the end of construction on my big projects, we should be testing and starting up in the next 6 months, and then I will have a bit of downtime before my next project starts, which is good. But I thought I would join you. I'm going to try this where I podcast roughly once a month, so I'm sitting down. It might be a quick one. I don't have a ton to share, but share what you can. So we're gonna start with my FOs. I have two today. The first step are calling them my Christmas 2022 socks. Finished a pair. These are for me. I realized I don't have a lot of Christmas colored socks, and so I decided to knit one around the Christmas season. I started these in December and finished them January 10th, so it took me about a month of working on them. And this is West Yorkshire Spinners signature floor ply in Hollyberry. So I wasn't too precious about them. You can kind of see I didn't want to do a bunch of managing, so they start at different colors slightly in the stripe pattern sequence. So they have different colors at the top, but I made them the same size, and I'm happy. It doesn't have to be exactly matching. And I just did a fish lips conceal. I hadn't done that in a while. And I like how fish lips usually works in a self-striping. I did do a little yarn management to make sure I pick back up at the same stripe. I think I'm off by 2 rows or something. You can't really tell. This multicolored is 2 rows longer. But that I did do, so I cut a little bit of yarn on both of them to do that. So these will be going into my yarn box until some socks wear out. I'm definitely at capacity. I have been wearing a lot of my socks, so I'm really proud of myself. I've been wearing a lot of them to work these days because it's winter, but it doesn't get excessively cold, and so I have a very short window in Los Angeles where I can wear my socks and not have sweaty feet, where it's cold enough to. And to be fair, I keep my office pretty warm. I'm in control of the thermostat, and I keep it a nice little 72. The guys sometimes complain in the construction trailer, but I'm the boss and I control. So it is what it is. That's my comfort temperature. And since I work in the office the most, they're in the field most of the time, I control the temperature. Anyway, so socks. Yes, been wearing my socks. The other thing I finished was super quick. I did it in 2 days. And one of my 2023 goals is to knit charity hats. I did a bunch over the past few years. And I actually picked up a lot of spirit yarn at the Northern California Knitting Retreat in worsted, probably worsted bulky and maybe even some super bulky. And so the plan with that is to knit charity hats. And so that's what I'm doing. My kind of unofficial goal is to do at least one a month, to have 12-ish done by the end of the year. I think I'm going to bring some to the charity that the brothers where the retreat for the Northern California Knitting Retreat is held. They do, they have an outreach where they take some hats, and then I sent some to Knitting the Rainbow this year. I might do that for the latter part of the year. Anyways, so this is the hat I knit. It's kind of looks small, so I tend to knit hats for my size head because I'm trying it on, and actually I have kind of a big head. So now I'm just trying to kind of go with, because these are charity and I should make them in all different sizes because I don't know who they'll be going to. So this is a little small. I could probably fit it on my head. Oh, it's a little tight, but does fit. This is the Towards North hat by Asita Creds. It's a free pattern, and I don't know what the yarn is. It's chunky. Most of the spirit yarn I got is like partial balls, no tags, you know, that kind of thing. I actually probably should have got, well, it's fine. It's fine. I keep saying, oh, I should have made it bigger, whatever, but it's just some kind of slip stitch. Very simple. Kind of comes through in the thing. It's got a cool little Latvian braid for the brim and ribbing. So I did it in like 2 days. And then I kind of as a palette cleanser before I started my next pair of socks. And yeah. So that's all I have for FOs, because I have been knitting pretty monogamously on my Birch sweater. This is the Birch by Andrea Mowry. It's a paid pattern. And this is a half fisherman's rib fingering weight sweater. And it is easy. I have it very mindless, but I have been tracking how much I'm knitting, and even monogamously. So I tend to knit anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours at night. Sometimes not at all, depending on how work was or when I get home, you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes I'm just tired. And then I knit on the weekends. And so with that, I've been managing about 2.5 inches a week. So here's where I got. This is a fingering weight, and the yarn is Zombie Yarns Alive in Lily and the Tiger that I picked up super on sale at Stitches West last year. Each of these balls was $5. So this whole sweater will probably cost me $25. And I am alternating skeins because it is hand dyed, and you can kind of see kind of where the colors are kind of going all over. And say in the back too. I'm not worrying about it. This is kind of being kind of a crazy, very pull on sweater. Now, oh God, look at this fabric. I am loving this fabric so much. This is going to be such a comfy sweatshirt style sweater, but it is taking me forever. I started it in November, and the reason I'm making it monogamous is because I know it's very sloggy. I am about 10 inches on the body. That is actually what she calls for to start the ribbing, but that's a little too cropped for me, for what I'm looking for. So I'm doing probably another 2 to 3 inches on the body. And so I need to actually try it on now and see where I'm at, with it. And then, see if I'm ready for the ribbing and to start on my sleeves. The only modification, I think I mentioned this, is I didn't like her necks. They go up a little too high for me. I like my necks low. So I just did a provisional cast on. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm leaning towards like an I-cord, something pretty simple, or very, very short ribbed kind of around here. Kind of like, I want the collar to be like this. Like, I don't like it around my neck. I'm wearing the Granito by Joji Locatelli today. Yeah, so I'm loving it. It's just slow. Fingering weight, fisherman's rib. Yeah, it is slow going. I'll show you my 2 balls so you can kind of see how pretty different. This has a lot of white. This has more color. So, and I'm doing some type of seamless connection. Not that you really would have probably been able to tell with the patterning and the ribbing. But I'm loving it. I will love the finished object. It is just a slog. So I'm going to continue on it. As I said, I'm not letting myself really kind of start anything else for the most part, until I finish it. So my goal is to finish it by the end of February. Is kind of where I'm trying to go, but we'll see. I do have, which I'll mention soon, a fair amount of travel. So might actually be March. I was hoping to wear it to one of my knitting events I'm going to in the next few weeks, but I don't think it's going to happen. The only other thing I'm going is my purse project. Where did I do this? Or my socks. So these are the Krufka, Krufka socks by Comfort Zone Knits. It's a free pattern. And I had a beautiful skein of yarn from my friend Janice from Queen City Yarns. This is her yarn and the Transatlantic colorway. This is actually going to be the retreat colorway for one of the retreats I'm going to. And then a contrasting in purple. So I wanted to use these 2 colors to do a really kind of cool pair of socks. And this pattern just hit it. So it's got stripes at the toe, and then the foot has a lace pattern, so you can see an eyelet pattern. And I actually think that I'll like this because my feet get hot, so I think that this would be kind of like air conditioning. And then I'm just doing solid for the cuff, and I just started my stripes. The only thing I have to say, so I'm following mostly the pattern. I'm a little off in terms of it didn't go up the leg before starting the striping. It was a much shorter sock. I made mine a little longer, but I didn't feel like carrying the eyelets up the leg. I followed per pattern these stripes and the jogless technique that they did, which was pick up the previous stitch below and knit it. And I don't like that. I think that that's very obvious. So I'm going with what I should have done, but I was being a good person following the pattern, is I actually just do, and you can't really tell, but it's much less noticeable, a slip. You change colors, go around a row, and then just slip the next stitch, the first color you come to, just slip it, and then continue on. And that, to me, is a lot less noticeable. Still a bit noticeable because I'm stacking them in the same spot. But yeah, so these are going to be going with me. I have this much of this first sock, so, and then I will start on my second sock and go from there. So that's all I'm working on. Kind of boring, huh? Oops, I dropped my contrast. So, what else has been going in life and yarn? As I said, most of January has been taken up with work, which is to be expected. And then I have been reading a fair amount. For the first month, so for the month of January, I've already finished 15 books this year. And that's both all my books I do from the library on Kindle, and then audiobooks. And so I've been doing like quick little audiobooks for like when I exercise. I'm trying to walk more. And so I've been listening to like Jen McKinley's Cupcake Mysteries, which I had been reading on on Kindle, and then I was like, well, let me see if I like the audio, and I do. So that's great because they're pretty quick. They're like, 7 or 8 hours, so it takes me a week to hear them if I kind of limit it to walking around when I do my exercise and a little longer. And then most of the other ones are just series that I read. Making my way through like Dakota Cassidy, which is a paranormal kind of romancy kind of thing. She has an accidental series, total fluff, total just fun to read. I love going back and revisiting characters. The only thing I did pick up is Sean McGuire, her October Day series. It was a recommendation, I think, from Kindle. So I checked it out, and it's one of those long series. I think it's got 15 books in it already. So I did pick it up and read the first one, and I liked it. So I started reading that. So I think I'm on the third book. And then listening to Sherry Thomas, the Lady Sherlock series, which I really enjoy. I listened to 3 and 4 on that. And that is kind of a different take on Sherlock Holmes, where it is a Victorian lady. And so she actually has to have a pseudonym, and how she is Sherlock and does everything and solves mysteries. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm on track to continue reading over 100 books this year, and that's great. The next big thing I have is travel. Like 2023 is the year travel comes racing back, especially knitting travel. I have so many things planned. So just in the next 5 weeks, I am going to New York for Vogue Knitting New York, and with some friends, mainly to see some friends I haven't seen in a long time. And then we're going to spend a day at the market, the Saturday at the market. But that's a pretty quick trip, flying out on Thursday and then flying back on Sunday. And then 2 weeks later, I go to Virginia Beach for the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway, hosted by my awesome friend Martha. And with lots of friends that go to that, I try to go at least every other year. And now that it doesn't conflict with Stitches West, I probably could go more. But it is, you know, not so a big deal, but I'm not a big fan of traveling to the East Coast in the winter. I've had to do it quite a bit because obviously that's where my family is, but not a big fan of the cold. But I am a big fan of wearing my sweaters, so I'm trying to be better about it. But anyways, I'm really excited. I'll be going to Virginia Beach, seeing all my friends, and surprise twist of events, my family is going to come up or come to see me. They're actually going to be finishing up a road trip to see my grandmother in Florida. And so they're going to stop by at Virginia Beach and stay a night and see me on the way back to Rhode Island. So I get to see the whole family. So that will be fun. They're doing, yeah, my family's sometimes crazy. I think my sister got this idea to do this road trip with the entire family. So it is my niece, my nephew, both my nieces, my mom, my brother, my sister, her boyfriend, and they're all renting a van, and they're doing this trip to go see my grandmother. We haven't seen, and I haven't seen my grandmother since COVID, so it's important, and I know it's something that they wanted to do. I'm just sad I can't join them, but I already had plans. Then I come back, and then the next week I go up to Stitches West for a long weekend, and so get to see all of my California knitting friends and different people I see up there. So I have 3 knitting events in 5 weeks. A little crazy travel, 2 of which are East Coast, which I actually like traveling. I've said that before. I really enjoy traveling on planes and airports and the whole experience of travel. Not just because I'm a knitter. Even before I was a knitter, I enjoy it. Like it's kind of a weird relaxing to me. I love people watching, and I don't get too stressed about things that happen. It's like things happen and you just adapt, and we'll go from there. So that's all that. And then in March, I'm going to be going to WonderCon Anaheim with my boyfriend. That's kind of our annual trip. It's a comic book convention that is kind of the little sister of the big one in San Diego that I went to last summer, and much more manageable. We stay, you know, at the Hilton where it's hosted in Anaheim, and we just people watch. It's great costumes, so much cosplay, walking around the market, and it's kind of just a weekend for us now to chill out and hang. And then Northern California Knitting Retreat at the end of April, Zombie Apocalypse in June, Rhinebeck in October, and yeah, so, and then I have to fit, this is just like all my knitting stuff. Then I have usually I go see my family, or they come to see me during the summer, so we have to talk about that. It is about time that they come. Almost both of my niece and nephew have come to visit me right around this age. My youngest niece is 3, and that's their like first trip to Disneyland or Disney World, I think it was, for my oldest nephew. And so yeah, so I'm thinking that maybe they'll do some of that. I did want to squeeze in an international trip this year. We'll see if I can. Yeah, it seems to be all the knitting things. I got to see some friends. I have another girl trip in there where we're going to be going to somewhere in New Mexico in the fall. So yeah, so I do have a bit of travel, which makes me happy and gives you an excuse to knit things. That's kind of all I have today. Isn't this super fast? I just, yeah. So this is my half day, Friday off. Technically it was my day off, but I worked in the morning, and I am doing a big wash of all my knit socks because we got down to pretty low. And then I'm going to go and knit on my sweater, have a little chill time. It's not often that I'm home alone and can actually chill on my own. So I'm going to do that and enjoy my weekend before going for next weekend. Oh, I was going to mention, so I am traveling. And so most of my travel projects, I want small. As much as I would love to bring my sweater, I do try to travel light, meaning I don't check a bag. I just do a carry-on and, you know, a backpack. So I have to keep my knitting projects pretty small. And so I actually just dug back into the charity stash of big wools and pulled out a bulky skein and probably a worsted weight skein and identified some hat patterns I'm going to do. So I'm going to cast those on to get those ready. So I'm going to bring 2 hats, the socks I'm working on, and then I have another skein of sock yarn skeined up. I'm going to do a pair of vanilla socks. It's kind of a cool, funky mix, and that will be my travel and knitting definitely for New York. I might add another one for Virginia Beach because I'll have a bit more knitting time there. But yeah, that's what I tend to bring for my travel, socks and hats, because I like to keep it small. And I do like to have, even within small projects, like different weights. So if I'm doing socks, I like my hats to be a worsted or a sport or even a DK, just something that, you know, when your hands need to, when you've been knitting or when you knit for hours, at least for me, you know, I do get hand cramps, but I find that it is mitigated if I change the type of project I'm doing in terms of the weight of the yarn to kind of keep it going. But I do have a time limit in terms of knitting. It has actually increased recently, but it tends to be right around 4 hours of knitting. That's when I have to stop. I start to get twinges in my arms, even with stretching and everything. And I just know it's like, okay, now's the time to take a few hours off. So that's all I have today. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful February. I hope everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day. I don't think we have any plans. We don't typically celebrate it. Every so often, he'll surprise me. He'll surprise me with either dinner or cakes or whatever, or a random present, or I him, but we're not big holiday things. And it's on a Tuesday this year, and I'll have just been out of town. So we'll see if we do anything. But if you do celebrate it, or celebrate with a loved one, or just celebrate yourself. When I was single, I did not mind Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day just means it was a date with me, and you are special, and you are enough to be your own Valentine. Yeah, and other than that, I think I'll be back probably after Stitches West. So I will have lots of tales to talk about my many knitting trips and probably a few acquisitions from New York and Stitches West. I am going to try to keep it minimal. I have a few sweaters that I need to get, not few, I have one sweater I want to get yarn for that I have half the yarn for. And then I'll try to keep it. I'm going to try to identify a project maybe I'll buy for one more, and then just try to keep it minimal. I am trying to knit from stash, and I have a fair amount of stash and a fair amount of sweater quantities. For me, I think I have like 4 or 5. So yeah, I want to try to knit from stash this year. But I say that every year. And sometimes I go to like an event where I can buy yarn, and I don't buy that much. And then sometimes I go crazy, and it doesn't really matter if I said I wanted to buy yarn or not. It just happens to be whatever mood I'm in that day. So we'll see. My goal is not to, but maybe I'll fall in love, or I'm definitely going for both yarn events, so Vogue Knitting and Stitches West, with people who like to enable you to buy. So that's always a factor, is friends and not peer pressure, peer support. Let's go with. All right, so that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.